Welcome back to the Paranormal Girl Podcast. I am your host, Kristen. We've got a fun one for you today with fellow paranormal podcaster Roger Norquist of Werewolf Radar. But before we get to that, I have some brief announcements. There are just a couple more days to consider entering yourself and your furry family member into Whitman County Humane Society's Halloween Costume Contest. If you are attending online, so to speak, the deadline is 1 p.m. on the 21st. If in person, doors open 1 p.m. on the 22nd at the Gladish Gym in Pullman. All proceeds go to Doggos in Need and all the amazing work WCHS performs throughout the year, so consider entering your pet. I'll link everything you need to know for that event below in the show notes. The annual Owlie Award is presented exclusively by American Paranormal Magazine for outstanding contributions to the field of paranormal research. Whoever wins the award is featured on the cover of their national and international December edition and receives a plaque to commemorate. If you have yet to vote, or perhaps you haven't heard of this award until now and want to literally make somebody's entire year, I'd like to suggest voting for my friend, Jordan Klein, host of the Fireside Paranormal Podcast. It takes but a moment to fill out the nomination form. Deadline to get those in is midnight on November 1st, and the winner will be announced that evening, 8 p.m. on November 1st. I have already cast my vote for him, and I encourage y'all to show him some love. I know he'd appreciate your vote as well. Final announcement is a shout out to Roy, who contributed to the show on my Buy Me a Coffee page. I cannot tell you how much it means to have your support. Your contribution goes directly into the fund for either new research books for the 5th season or to the new equipment fund, namely a new computer so I can continue recording and editing in a timely fashion. Whichever fund it resides in, it's all important to this show's success and the furtherance of paranormal education. So, thank you, Roy. Thank you, sir. Werewolf Radar is a comedy-based paranormal podcast airing new episodes multiple times a week. They cover cryptids and UFOs and hauntings and everything else you can think of under the paranormal sun with their own comedic and unique twist. I was so lucky to be able to have one of their hosts join me on this week's episode to chat about their journey, topics they cover, his personal experiences with the paranormal, and I believe we even broke some new ground on this show unexpectedly and had us a little chat about Bigfoot. So, let's get into it. Please enjoy my conversation with Roger Norquist of the Werewolf Radar podcast. All right, so for today's episode, I am so excited to welcome onto the show a fellow para-podcaster, co-host of Werewolf Radar, Roger Norquist. Roger, welcome.
Thank you for having me. How are you doing today?
Gosh, I'm doing great today. It's been a really good day. Just living that podcasting dream. You know how it is.
I do. We're totally as rich as we possibly could dream, and we have no other problems.
Yeah, exactly.
But it is a beautiful day. I'm glad it's beautiful where you are. I have just sun shining. It's not too hot. The windows can be open. I can actually enjoy my apartment instead of dying in here.
Well, see, you're on the other side of the mountains from me. It is freezing over here. Freezing.
Okay.
Yeah. So just lies, buddy. So for anyone who has not listened to Werewolf Radar before, they are a comedy podcast. They are excellent. It is Roger, Jordan, and Nate. And they are wonderful. We're going to talk about the show today and some favorite bits that I love. I listen to you guys every week. But before we get into that, why don't you tell us about yourself?
Well, I started, like everyone in Werewolf Radar, doing stand-up comedy and sketch comedy. And then we all met each other, realized that we all really enjoy paranormal things, and started Werewolf Radar maybe like 8-ish, 10-ish years ago. And then due to just stand up and being irresponsible 20-year-olds, we did like long multi-year hiatuses, and now over the past 3 years or so, we've just been doing Werewolf Radar kind of straight on a weekly, more professional basis. And it's getting better and better. And it's really fun to do. We love talking and joking about the paranormal, not like joking about it like it's all hubwash and whatnot, but like we're really big believers in some things, and it's fun to joke about being in those experiences. And I think that's the whole premise of Werewolf Radars. And we are a comedy paranormal podcast, but we really are also big believers in it as well. We're joking out of our own fears of these things versus like making fun of people.
Although there is plenty of fun to be had. Some of my favorite segments that you guys do are the week of weird. And
Yes.
I love those so much. You guys often bring this kind of, well, you bring in these news stories to talk about often on the show, and that's kind of a really interesting avenue to take with it, that these are real things happening out in the world, and you bring it in, you dissect and go through it. Actually, a recent episode you guys did I just loved was the couple that met after encountering Bigfoot.
Oh yes, what a lovely couple. Yeah, this
Lovely.
couple saw, in theory, the same Bigfoot encounter on the same day, and then many, many years later met at a general store in their town, maybe a hardware store. I can't remember exactly, but they're very small town community, and they've never told anyone their stories until they told each other their story.
And love was born.
And love was born. I think they're married. They love Bigfoot bumper stickers and Bigfoot, and that's all you need, just two things. But those are fun. We love doing that. That was
Yeah.
one of my ideas that really took off to where like, oh yeah, we can just always have a story to talk about. There's so much paranormal news happening
Oh yeah.
in terms of like of a possession in this country, or a fear of a sorcerer in another country, or like whatever mysterious creature sightings in any other part of the world.
Mm-hmm. Where do you come across these stories? Like, because you have them like at the ready every single week. Like, is it just kind of randomly, poking around the
Sometimes
internet?
it is. You can, just typing in like mysterious creature sighting brought us to like a mom forum in the UK that we broke the story on overall in terms of like news.
Mm-hmm.
That was a fun one. It was like mom.co.uk, and one of the moms on there was all like, I saw a creature in the park. I don't know what this was. And then everyone else picked up on it. We were one of the first to do that. That was a fun episode. I wish I knew exactly what episode that was, but I think it's still up on the main feed, which is like 100 episodes deep.
Oh my gosh, no, you guys got like over 200. I was scrolling through the other day. I was like, oh my God,
And
there's
it's
so
so
much.
much more, because I think we started on the reboot, which was started episode 1, and now we're at like 220-ish, maybe
Mm-hmm.
218, 219, I think is this week.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, Coast to Coast is a great place to find news stories too. They have articles linked to their news. And
Ooh.
that's where we find a lot of good ones too, to where like they're just an aggregate finding like Latin American
Mm-hmm.
paranormal stories, and any place they're just finding paranormal stories. If it has a ghost or a witch or an alien, it's in the Coast to Coast news articles section.
It's kind of their thing, I hear. Yeah.
They love it. They love it. I try not to use too much of their own writing from Tim Binnall, although you're a great sir. I assume Tim Binnall's doing all the new stuff for Coast to Coast. You're doing a great job overall.
Good job, Tim. Very good job. Kudos, buddy.
We're trying to keep up to where if I find a news story, I'll try to write our own article on it, but
Mm-hmm.
I've been busy over the past few months and I can't do that right now.
It's a lot of work, man. I always appreciate being able to talk to my fellow podcasters, because there's a certain, we can kind of commiserate a little bit on just all that's going on behind the scenes here, that the general public doesn't really, they don't, they have an idea, but not really.
It's a lot of work to do podcast and then try and do extra stuff, to where we do 2 podcasts, a main episode, and then This Week of Weird, Monday and Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes we'll write a news story, which still takes like an hour out of my time to where I'm like, I just don't want to do it this week. I want to be a human.
And then you have actually like real life obligations on top of it. It's a lot of fun, guys. A lot of fun.
Plumbing issues, just medical issues, life issues.
I don't know what you're talking about. Podcasters do not poop or have medical issues. Okay, well, let's talk some paranormal stuff. Have you actually had any personal experiences that led to, your fascination with it?
I've had 2 experiences in the same apartment building when I was a child. The first one was I woke up late at night, and then let me explain it like a human. Woke up late at night, and I was sleeping in the room with my brother. We had bunk beds, and I was on the top bunk, so I could like see everything pretty proper in the room. So I wake up and I can't go back to sleep, and I kind of look around and I see this like bluish light mist in front of our door to the hallway. And then I'm staring at this thing, and then all of a sudden I just hear this loud blood-curdling scream. And then that vanishes, and I just lie in my bed hoping someone else heard this sound, which turns out no one else in the apartments heard. So that was a fun experience. And then a little bit later, I was playing Final Fantasy IV, which some people might know as Final Fantasy II if you only played the American games in our childhood. But I was playing that in my parents' room, and my mom had a clown doll on a shelf high up.
Oh,
and I see this movement. I see this movement kind of in the corner of my eye, and I turn around and I see the doll's head kind of slowly turning. And it was one of those experiences where like, no, I'm just going to leave and go to the park for an hour. And I left everything turned on, just like left. So those are ones I can't explain. And then I had another one after this in the house my parents live in now, to where I was listening to the Stained album, that very like first big one. And I had let the whole album play through. And then I start hearing this like cryptic guitar playing coming out right from where my guitar is. And I let it go, and I'm like, oh, it's getting just weirder and weirder, and it starts to mess up. And I like leave my parents' basement, but then I'm all like, wait a second, is this what I've heard is called a hidden track? And then I go downstairs and like replay it. I'm like, oh, it's a hidden track.
Oh, okay.
But it was one of those things that just made me go like, oh, holy shit, this ghosts are just following me. But I had those 2 real ones that I could not explain. And then that third one to where I was able to explain it.
Yeah, because I was going to ask, you were telling me, I was like, I don't know if there's going to be a logical explanation here.
Yeah, it was my guitar was right by my speaker and tuned to the exact same key signature as what was playing. So it was all like, this is just too much. I hate all of this. But I was playing songs from that Stained album, which are all somewhat in the same key, so that's why it was in the same key. But in the moment, I ran out of the basement. I was like, I've had enough of this ghost.
Oh, sure, absolutely. Oh my gosh, and this all happened in the same house anyway, right? Or the same apartment?
2 in the same apartment. The Blue Mist and the doll were in the same apartment.
Okay,
then we moved into the house they live in now.
And you were like,
so I assume the ghost is following me. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that doll. Also, my mom lost it. Can't find it anymore. It's just running around society.
Maybe somebody, hopefully somebody did not pick it up for one of the games you talked about recently, the hide and seek.
Oh yeah, the Devil Games episode.
Yes. Oh, I found that episode very, very interesting. I covered a few of the games you guys talked about back on like a Halloween episode, so it was really cool to see your guys's, you guys talking about it and the take on it and how you dissect things so well, and then the funny aspect of it, which I'm not. But yeah, that was incredible. I was wondering if when it was Jordan that was talking about like bringing the games in.
Nate.
It was Nate. Okay,
yes.
Yeah, so when he was talking about, I was waiting for him to talk about the elevator game, because I think that's the most like well known, like in our pop culture, like paranormal.
And what is I don't know so many things. Like we all have our specialty in like paranormal stuff, and like Nate has so many like old traditions, old like weird devil's games as what they're called, and like he just pops them out of his head, and we're like, where is this
Yeah.
coming from, Nate?
He just knows them. It's
But what's the
weird.
elevator game? The
Okay.
short and long.
Okay, so the elevator game, which interestingly enough, was a theory that Elisa Lamb was playing.
Oh
Unfortunately, at
yes,
the
okay.
yeah, but boiled down, it is you have to get into an empty elevator and you have to push the sequence of buttons and go to these floors, let the elevator open, close. At some point, some ghostly Japanese demon girl is supposed to get on with you. Don't talk to her. Don't listen to
Mm-hmm.
her. You know, whatever. Do not interact, or else. And then if you push the right sequence of buttons, you follow all the directions, it'll take you up to the very top floor. And it's supposed to open up into this other dimension that's very it's akin to, and I cannot recall the movie that I've seen something similar, but it's very like a dark realm, and you can see like a burning cross off in the distance on a hill, and
An
you
anti-universe.
an anti-universe, yes, and you get to go off and explore because fun stuff. And then you get back on and you follow a sequence of buttons to bring your dumbass home. So,
Yeah, that Elisa Lamb stuff still spooks me out. Like this whole elevator game gave me the goosebumps, but to think that she
dude.
actually did the elevator game maybe successfully and then explored a little bit too hard is frightening to me.
Oh, see, yeah, there's just something real creepy about it. It's just one of the theories. I mean, of course, everybody is running amok with the theories of what was
Yes.
happening that day. But yeah, it's a little spooky to think, maybe she was, and it went awry. I don't know.
The videos of it, if you guys are finding this and haven't seen the Elisa Lamb videos, so many weird stuff. It's some of the weirdest footage I think I've ever seen on the internet. I mean, not weirdest, but like paranormal weirdest story
Yeah.
footages.
Yeah. If you haven't checked it out, just go take a look, read the story. I was living there. I was in Los
Oh,
Angeles when that happened, and I remember watching it on the news that night, and that they discovered, and it was just like, oh, like it's hard to explain that feeling, just that heavy feeling. And it was at the Cecil too, and the Cecil
mm-hmm.
itself is just rife with that paranormal and that dark and that true crime history too. So it's yeah, real historic moment there.
There, every town or every good town has a good like haunted hotel. Here in Colorado, ours is called the Oxford Hotel, and it has tunnels underneath the city that lead to the train station, so the president could sleep at the Oxford Hotel, plus Shanghaiing tunnels that were used before they were used as presidential tunnels. So some of the rooms in there were preserved for historic benefits and information, to where like you can see how the Shanghaiing went down in the Oxford Hotel, and then they would just all of a sudden you're now a conscript in the Navy.
No, I'm what is Shanghaiing?
So
What's
Shanghaiing was when you just stole people and conscripted them to work on your boat. So like before public records were really helpful to like track down missing people and whatnot, you could just, I mean, you still can be taken. Everyone be safe out there, but before it was easier and you could just now be a pirate slave.
Oh my
So
God.
the Oxford Hotel has some of that history. They have very dark tunnels that are now roped off. No one can go in there, but they go on underneath Denver for miles and supposedly very haunted. When we went there for my journalism course many moons ago, there was a ghost happening in the room that they brought us, to where the radio just started to blast jazz music. Now it was probably rigged, I think, for the tour. I think it was just a neat thing that they brought people into and be like, here's a ghost experience for them. But it freaked us all out. Like we were all primed so perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a bar down there that's supposedly haunted, and you'll see in the same building, the Oxford building has like the Velvet Lounge, or like the Maroon Lounge or something.
Mm-hmm.
And supposedly, like in many bars in Denver, you will see ghost people drinking, turn around, and they're gone.
See, that just sounds like a rad experience to me though. Like why is it this stuff is so creepy and so scary, but there are certain of us in this public that are drawn to that. Like that sounds like the perfect date night. Like go into a haunted hotel, sit at the haunted bar, drink with some ghostly specters, and make a night of it.
And I'm on the opposite end of that, but it still fascinates me to where like I don't want to experience it. I've had enough, but like I'm enthralled by what you just said. Tell me more.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and the history too. I'd really love digging into the history and the research
Me,
of.
oh yeah. Me and my best friend, Sam Talent, check out his book, Running the Light. I think it's being optioned for bigger stuff. Just follow Running the Light. Put notifications on for Running the Light.
Got it.
And
I'll link it.
and me and him used to do an open mic at Lion's Lair on Colfax, which is an old historic bar. Been there since it was a jazz bar in the 40s and shit.
Mm-hmm.
And that history is crazy haunted as well in there, to where like anytime they do renovations, there's a lot of paranormal activity that the owners just kind of deal with. And one night, me, one of the owners, and Sam just kind of watched keys in a door start to wave back and forth like a pendulum, get even more. And for 30 minutes, we were just rocking back and forth on the door with no stop in sight until like I went over and like stopped it to see if it would start again for some whatever reason.
Yeah, yeah.
And it never did. It was just something we witnessed. Jordan's seen the jazz man in that bar walk past the pinball machine and disappear.
What?
So Lions Lair has a spooky history that is
Yeah.
overall I don't think is written too much about. Like you can find some articles, some people did write about it, but like it's one of Denver's hidden gems of paranormal activity.
So I have a creepy situation here. There is a big ass spider right there. I've been trying not to freak out about it, but he's on the move. So
Yeah, spiders also are the bigger fear for me. Like I'd go into a haunted house if you told me there was no spiders in there. I'd be like, oh, it's fine then. Spiders freak me out so much. It's one of the reasons I tried to buy a second floor apartment. I was like, no, the first floor and the basements are filled with the insects. I want the top floor.
Spiders can climb, Roger.
Oh, well,
Oh,
I
he's
didn't
moving.
plan for that.
All right. Well, you know what? I'm a professional. I'm just gonna. I'm up in my chair. I'm gonna keep an eye out. Whew. Yeah.
Insects do that to me, but any other mammals I can deal with. I am the person that deals with rats and mice in my family to where like I got them. Birds too. When I was young, our fireplace just captured birds. So I always had to get them out and like deal with them.
No, but insects are a totally different, like it's a totally different beast. I don't know what it is, and like you know what, I've been trying to be like introspective and just very like humane recently, and not killing like the creepy crawlies that have always just skeezed me out before.
Mhm.
But like there's just that, I don't know what it is. It's a primal instinct to just be creeped the hell
I don't know what
out.
they think. I can't see into their eyes and get their emotion. It's the same thing with reptiles. I don't know what they're thinking and I don't enjoy them.
There's something very alien about it going on.
Yes.
I don't know. All right, I've got my eyes on him. He's on my water bottle. The subjects that you guys cover on Werewolf Radar, it seems like you guys primarily like to talk about cryptids. Is
Yeah,
that an
we have
accurate?
cryptids are the most fascinating because they're the most, what am I trying to say? Like realistic, like there's something that
Yeah.
like can happen. There's explanations for cryptids, like to where like it was this, and that's still just as fascinating as if it was
Mm-hmm.
what was described. Like I guess a good example is Bigfoot, our favorite one, to where
Mm-hmm.
if it's not real, it could have been something else. To where like it was even more fascinating, like a great ape of North America, like a true find of that would be phenomenal. Even if
Mm-hmm.
all these stories and legends are just based on fossils that people have found,
Yeah.
like that's phenomenal. Plus, there's so much evidence, like the Dr. Jeff Meldrum. Yeah, Meldrum.
Meldrum. Yeah.
A primatologist in Washington or Oregon, one of the great Northwest states, who straight up has tons of evidence he says is legitimate and corroborating many people's tales of Bigfoot actually existing to modern day.
Ooh. What kind of evidence does he say he has?
Tons of prints. That's his main thing, but like properly collected prints that he has collected to where like they are properly cast. You can see dermal ridges. You can see like small hair tracks in the cast, which most people creating a hoax suit wouldn't do dermal ridges on the pads of the feet.
Yeah, they're
is
gonna
one of
miss
his
those.
big points.
Yeah.
Plus the weight distribution on the cast, it would be accurate to where if a 700-ish pound primate was walking, that's how it would be pressed into the ground.
Okay.
So like a lot of cryptids can sometimes have this like bizarre scientific evidence going to it, or like pointing to its existence.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like the Loch Ness monster as well, to where like there's probably an unknown species of large conger eel in Loch Ness that's being cited as the Loch Ness monster. So even if the Loch Ness monster isn't real in the way we know it, like this unusual eel is definitely in Loch Ness monster.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
With DNA evidence matching it and everything.
Okay.
It's that's why I think cryptids pull us especially well, because there's so much evidence to it scientifically, or like weird little anomalies that are like, it's something to think about. It's a fun thing to think about. And ghosts scare us, aliens
Mm-hmm.
don't have enough evidence yet to really pull us, but cryptids have just that sweet spot of evidence to where like this might be a creature we should talk about.
I see. Yeah, I would agree with you. And we did talk about this a little bit when you had me on your show, and we were talking about the Honey Island Sasquatch, Honey Island monster. And I was saying at the time, it might be like one of those cases where it's kind of a case of like an animal that we just haven't specifically, found yet, like found, like gotten it, like certain animals we're still discovering in the ocean. But as far as what like, yes, there is all of this evidence and the circumstantial evidence and the reports, encounters. Where's the body? What's going on?
Yeah, that's one of those things, and there's precedence to it, to where great apes of Africa will generally take care of the corpse, and that's why we never found gorilla bones or corpses for the longest time.
Okay.
Like truly, I don't remember the exact year, but gorillas were finally discovered after just being a thing of legend until like the 1890s or something. So there's situations like that, but exactly, we eventually found their bodies.
Yeah.
Where's Bigfoot's body? And there's many theories behind it. One of our best friend, Brett Hiker's dad, is I want to say park ranger in Ingle County. It might be something more official. I think he's actually like a scientist. But anyway, we'll say park ranger for the fun. And he was on a Monster Quest episode explaining his evidence for Bigfoot and what he's found and what other people have found. And one woman sent him a letter explaining to him that he was wrong. Bigfoot is a guardian creature that guards 94 different Earths, and he travels between them all. So that's, of course, one theory, interdimensional Bigfoot.
Yeah, right. That's a big one. Yeah.
But there's good evidence, and then there's just fun evidence that's, let's play if this was real,
It's a subject that's just kind of fun to
it's right to talk about.
Yeah.
Like, I really enjoy just talking about it. And even on the more absurd things, it's fun to acknowledge it, but then like kind of go like, this probably isn't accurate. But then there's some bizarre stuff to where like we think as Bigfoot just as like a primate. And then if you know about the Sierra tapes from Ron Moorhead, there's something in the Northwest region that can amplify its voice greatly without like artificial aids. Like it seems to be a natural low, powerful resonance in these sounds. And it seems to also have a language. Like I've studied linguistics for all of my college times, and it matches what I know as being chaotic and still patterned enough to be a normal language. And then crypto linguist or xenolinguist, cryptolinguist are code breakers and whatnot, and kind of deal with unknown languages of uncontacted tribes, agree this is something bizarre, but matches a language pattern, to where like Bigfoot might have its own language, and thus if it's that advanced to have its own language like that, it probably deals with its dead in a way to where they're taking the bodies somewhere.
Okay.
Without digging, you wouldn't be finding a lot of human bodies either. They're not something we leave out. So if you have any ritual, and rituals like especially for like our type of hominid, rituals began over 250,000 years ago. I forgot when that pink axe head was found. There's a quartz axe head that kind of is the starting point to where like we were practicing religion at this point and how we deal with the dead. So like our dealing with the dead as a hominid tribe has gone on for probably 500,000 years. So if they're even as advanced as our ancestors back then, they probably deal with the dead, just like gorillas and elephants deal with the dead.
Yeah.
We're like, I don't know where the bodies are, but they could be anywhere. Maybe we're not digging in the right spots, you know?
Well, I've never thought about it this far before, but it completely, like, it would make sense. Absolutely. What was my question? Oh, do you know, as far as you know, has anybody actually done any work to the effect of trying to, like, if people are understanding that there is a language going on here, they're seeing the patterns and all of that, has anybody actually put in any work as to transcribe, interpreting that?
There is a crypto linguist, I forgot his name, who is sometimes interviewed on Bigfoot documentaries. He's on the Missing 411 documentaries, the second one that deals with Bigfoot
Oh, okay.
specifically, and the Ron Moorhead tapes. So there's that guy, but with what is available, there just isn't enough data to really connect patterns to anything. Plus, what if those patterns are just wrong? It's kind of like when people study the Indus language. The Indus culture was in between what we know as the Arabia and India.
Okay.
There was a culture that did the intermediate trading called the Indus culture. And like all that we have of them are like these weird tablets with like a series of symbols. And the symbols kind of have a pattern. Like if you see a cow, there's normally this symbol after it. And then sometimes there's this symbol after that symbol. So like we can see a pattern, but in no way do we know what that is or like what it's signifying. So I think we're just at the point to where like we know this is a language, but we don't know what they're saying.
Okay.
But in the Ron Moorhead tapes, the guy mimics the language, and it seems that the person speaking the language as its first language gets very upset. I don't think it likes the mimicking.
Oh no, or he just got cursed out or something.
Yeah, or like he was saying get out and the person said get out back and he was like, "No, this is my land, you get out." Like it was that type of call and response.
Oh man, there's this guy. Gosh, I cannot remember his name right now. I'm blanking all over the place on TikTok. I come across his videos frequently, and he's like like an outdoorsman, fisher, hunter, whatever. But he has all this land and these woods in the back of his property, and there is something, a creature or cryptid or something that he has been dealing with since the start of his channel, and it's way out deep in the woods, and he started trading things with it. Like he calls it a gifting rock out in this space, and he'll leave things for it, like little snacks or like toys or whatever. And he started finding them gone, and then he started finding things being brought to left for him. And I don't know how much you know about that, but I have heard of like things like that happening out in the woods. I think these stories revolved around like maybe like Bigfoot, maybe like this kind of intermingling. Like if you leave something, they'll
there's
take
a
it,
few
or they'll
tales
leave
like that.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, there's also I forgot what her name is, of course, but there was a woman who was interviewed by local news in Tennessee, I believe, who was trading. Bigfoot would give her special like gifts, crafts and whatnot, sometimes garlic.
Yeah.
And she would give her, or Bigfoot would ask for garlic and provide her with like different gifts that were of equal trade to the garlic.
Okay. That sounds familiar. Were you guys talking about it before? Okay. Yeah. That is crazy.
We talk about it. We haven't talked about that tale because I guess we should, because it kind of has fallen out, but it's a very interesting tale of like, it seems that Bigfoot knows language and knows of culture and can interact with different cultures in peaceful ways or in what seem to be aggressive ways in the Sahara tapes.
Well, a lot of people certainly come away from their, encounters being yelled at in the dark or having sticks and rocks thrown at them.
Mm-hmm.
That would certainly take it as aggressive. Yeah, but maybe we're misunderstanding
Yeah,
something here.
misunderstanding the rock coming at our heads.
Yeah, it's not violence, it's love.
But it could be like a warning thing to where like, this is where my tribe is. You need to leave.
Yep, yep. Just being protective.
And I hate to say it, I think the only way we're going to find a body is if just human encroachment on the nature keeps happening. Because, like, there's not enough, especially in the Northwest. There's so much. There's so much foliage. There's so much land
Yeah.
that goes untamed, especially in like Washington and Oregon. Even Northern California is just, don't go out here. A mountain lion's probably going to take you.
Oh yeah.
Or a
Yeah.
Bigfoot in theory, too.
Yeah, no, it's because I live here now. I'm in Washington, and it's technically a rainforest over here. Like
Mm-hmm.
it is thick. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And just like the East Coast, like people have an understanding of a forest, but you've only been to the edge of the forest. You haven't actually been into the forest, and that goes on for
Mm-hmm.
dark and deep miles.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there
And there
was
could
a
be many species we don't know about
oh,
of
absolutely.
of all animals still in America's forests.
Absolutely. I mean, there's so many untrekked miles, places in this country, in these forests that there's never been a human to step foot in. And you know what? People go missing all the time. You want to talk missing 411, especially in our national forests, which is kind of a creepy story too.
Oh, there's so many things. Those are another thing that really fascinate me with like the cryptid side of it, to where if we don't know what the creature is, then
Mm-hmm.
in an example of the 411, what is taking some of these people?
Yeah, yeah.
Like some of those stories straight up are like, no, something took this person, because the moment someone turned around, they were gone.
Mm-hmm.
And then my favorite part of every not everyone, but a lot of them are the 411 stories are, and then we found their shoe in pristine order 4 years later at the spot they were taken.
Yes.
It's like, well, how does that even happen? How does just the shoes be pristine 4 years later in
Yeah.
nature? Like, that's just mind boggling.
Yeah, yeah, or they find the person's, like backpack and like their two little shoes like perfectly lined up right
Yes.
next to it and a toothbrush or something. Yeah, there's some
Even in the
weird
most
stuff,
like
man.
chaotic serial killer fashions, like that's a lot of work.
Yeah. It's methodical.
Yeah,
Well,
too methodical for me to believe it is not like something crazy paranormal and mysterious. I
yeah.
refuse to give the human mind that much evil capability, or at least foreboding capabilities.
Well, so I know you are going to be running off to an interview of your own here, or an episode recording here. I did want to talk real briefly about something I would consider a cryptid. Maybe people would more so consider it an etheric, I don't know, mythical beast, the puka. And I'll tell you why I'm so curious about this. It really perked my ears up, that episode. What is the puka?
I've told that's the Irish one, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's the one where they can take all different kinds of forms and stuff, like
Yeah,
different
it's the
animals, but
puck-like
it's the
creature.
yeah, yeah.
Yes.
But oftentimes, like when you say puka or think of puka, it's a rabbit. It's a big rabbit. And the reason that perked my ears up is I don't know if I talked to you about this before, but my boyfriend and I we had a production team a while back, and we would make all these short movies and like docu series, and we were working on a feature called Puka because this was such a fascinating concept to me. I just ran across it randomly one day. I was like, oh, it's this mythical, like cryptid like creature, and it
It
can be, it
shapeshifts. I think it
shapeshifts.
also becomes
Yeah.
like as most things in Irish folklore, a horse,
Yep,
goats.
yep.
I think it also
Mhm.
becomes a voluptuous woman or an old man.
That's oh, I don't understand the thought process behind that, why, but yeah, so it's an interesting concept, not one that a lot of people are very familiar with, is the puka. I guess we're not familiar with a ton of, like, folklore and legends that go on across
Especially
the
if it
pond.
is somewhat ethnic to the British imperial senses. Like Ireland's culture has been so destroyed and forgotten because it's not the British culture. Like, especially, and even here in America, like we have some sense of our heritage,
Mm-hmm.
but like a lot of Irish people don't know Irish legends like the puka. Like it's very ingrained in Irish culture.
Yeah.
But if you are over here, you're technically British, you know? So like it's very like watered down Puritan, I guess. To where like if it's too out there, then we are going to forget it. And I'm glad that a lot of native things are coming back, especially
Mm-hmm.
like the mole pits or the moo
Ooh.
pits.
What?
That's the creature that the Cherokee, I think, no, the Apache people in the movie Prey know the predator as.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen that yet. I haven't seen Prey yet.
Yes, no spoilers, but they think it's a monster.
Okay.
The people of the 1880s don't understand space travel, so they think it's a monster,
Ah,
and it's
okay.
called the Moopits, and it is
Muppets.
a cannibalistic owl. And we read some of the legends, the actual legends that have been written down
Uh-huh.
of the Apache people in that Mulpits episode.
Okay. Muppets. I'm writing this down because I'm gonna do some research on it. That sounds fascinating. Yeah, I was looking into. Well, I'm not gonna do any spoilers. It's the subject that I'm considering talking about this Halloween. That is has something to do with like Appalachian, folklore and like the
Oh
scary.
yeah, that goes
Yeah.
deep. That's something
Ooh.
that I forgot to talk that I forgot to mention there is that we're pretty British in terms of like our culture being very, very Puritan. And then you have the Appalachian people that were able to
Mm-hmm.
keep all of their Scotch Irish heritage like pretty well.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
shows in Appalachian legends and folklore.
Okay, okay. So a lot of that is being like drawn from the
In
very
terms of
like
like folklore and folklorology, I guess, like there's a
yeah.
lot of parallels to the legends of Ireland and like puka type shit in Appalachia. Like those
Okay.
mountains are very mysterious, and the Appalachian Mountains are some of the most beautiful mountains I've ever seen.
Huh.
And like it is also like foggy, like it is a mysterious land. It has a lot of like charm to it in that sense.
Yeah. 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 There the it it's there's this creepy just creepy factor with most every story that I've ever heard coming out of there. Something that creeps me out to no end though are these rules, the rules that they raise their children up understanding about that area and about the
Mm-hmm.
woods. Like, yeah, I mean, most everybody knows it by now, but the one where, if you hear your name called, no, you
Mm-hmm.
didn't, that kind of, oh, it's just something about it,
Yeah.
man.
No, it's something mimicking something. Don't
Yep.
follow those words.
Ooh, yep, yep.
And that's a big thing in a lot of Irish folklore too, is that reverse mimicry to where like you'll hear someone say your name in the
Uh-huh.
voice that you know
Yeah.
and never go toward it. And if you hear it right next to you, it's far away. But if it's far
Yes.
away from you, it's actually right next to you.
Yes. Yes. Ooh, yeah, that is the stuff of nightmares, man.
And it's that storytelling that we see a lot in folklore to where like
Mm-hmm.
you thought you knew the rules, this story reverses all of them.
Oh, just turns it on its head. Yes, yes. There's no way you can be safe. Nowhere to run. Nowhere to hide. Ah, absolutely. And then, yeah, one last thing. You were talking to a recent guest about. It was just real brief. She mentioned it in passing, and she only said it the once. Skinwalker, Skinwalker Ranch.
Oh yes, yes, Sue Walker. That was such a
Yeah,
fun interview. She's a contactee
yeah.
with an alien race called the Ponti, who are the alien race that, as they say, did a wellness check on Betty and Barney Hill.
That's what that was a
Yes,
wellness
it was
check.
not an abduction, it was a wellness check. You'd be frightened too if the doctor just like she equated it to when like an animal is tranquilized for their wellness checks, like it's
Mm-hmm.
going to be frightening. You're not going to understand anything, but they're just checking to see if you're healthy.
Yeah. Ooh, what do you think about that?
I don't know, man. I'm one of the leopards being tranquilized,
Yeah.
like.
Oh, well, yeah, I just thought that was very interesting that, when she was telling the story about the Skinwalker Ranch and all that, that she would only say it the once because there's a lot of, um, fear with the paranormal supernatural topics. And I was just curious, is there any paranormal or supernatural topic that you are afraid of that you don't want to talk about, that you wouldn't talk about?
No, we talk about it all.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
don't have too many paranormal experiences now in my
Yeah.
life. I've had
Yeah.
psychics and mediums tell me that I'm disconcerting to be around because they can't read me. So I think I've built like some sort of barrier around me that's where like I'm done with it. No more. I like talking about it, but I refuse to be affected by it. Jordan, I think, is definitely the most fearful of some topics, but after 218 episodes, I don't think we've found one that he has gone like, no, I refuse to talk about that.
Yeah.
It's always been a fascinating thing into it, but much respect, especially for people who care about other people's cultures and doing it right. Like, yeah,
Mhm.
don't talk about it unless you know like what some things are coming from. Like when we talk about Wendigo, we make sure that we're explaining that this is what you might know as the Wendigo is wrong and created from a French novelist in
Mhm.
Montreal.
Mhm.
Wendigo doesn't have horns. It's more frightening than you could possibly imagine. And the same thing with the Skinwalker, to where like it is such a Navajo Apache kind of tradition to where like thank goodness we have a good friend, Jason Cordova, who like corrects us on this and like he's like, this is how you talk about these issues. He's a folklorist who is studying for his, I want to say master's, but it's probably PhD in folklore in
Mhm.
Estonia right now.
Mhm. Mhm.
So like it's a good thing. It's good to have friends who are able to actually tell you the proper folklore and the culture of the stories that it's coming from and not afraid to correct you when you get it wrong.
Yes. Yes. No, I'm having him on my show here coming up in a couple
Good.
of weeks. I'm so excited
Yeah,
because
he is one of the smartest people we know. We all went to school together at Metro, and he's doing the best out of all of us in terms of paranormal folklore work. He's doing it. Good for him.
yes, absolutely. I foresee his name being well known
Oh
at
yeah.
yeah, in this world.
He hangs
Yeah.
out with oh, I'm gonna say his first name wrong. I can't remember it, but I think it's Lou Alejandro, who's being featured in some ancient alien productions. He's getting really big in there. They're all part of the Crypto Science Society of Colorado.
Yeah. I'm doing some interesting stuff
They're
over
the
there.
serious side of us. Me and Jordan went to the joking side, and Jason and all them were like, no, we're serious people.
Well, we need all sides to this, Roger.
It helps. It helps for
Yeah.
sure because like if you drink the Kool-Aid too much on some of this, you don't see how some of this is jokingly absurd.
Yeah.
And then some stuff just can't be joked about. And we're like, well, I mean, I don't have a funny thing to say about this. I'm frightened overall. And that's where I think Werewolf Radar hits a nice fine point where we joke and then we admit that, like, no, this is frightening to us as well.
Yeah.
I don't
No.
know what to make of this.
No, I absolutely, I think you guys strike a really, really nice balance in your show. I know it is a comedy podcast, but yeah, there's a really nice, like, kind of middle ground there that you guys hit too. And it's like, no, it's, time to be serious about this. Yeah.
And recognizing that's a big aid too, to be like, no, it's time to be serious about this
Mm-hmm.
subject.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, we are reaching the end of our time together, sir. I do have a couple of speed round questions for you, if
Okay,
you're ready to hop
I'm
on.
ready.
And all right, not hard questions, just things I was curious. Um, who's your dream guest?
uh Giorgio Tsoukalos. I have so many questions to ask him about his life. Not even the paranormal, just how he lives.
A paranormal subject that you think is just crap.
Oh, to be honest, I haven't really found one. I guess I haven't found one exactly. There's always something that is a little legitimate about every topic. I guess Siren Head. The Siren Head phase, if you're familiar with it, total crap.
Siren Head, is that from a movie?
No, it is from a series of YouTube videos to where all the paranormal people who were talking like top 10 scary videos and stuff
Uh-huh.
all decided to do Siren Head. And Siren Head was a tornado siren in some situations
Okay.
that grew sentience and was just stomping along the Ohio countryside.
He's a tulpa.
No, essentially, yes. A Slender Man
Okay.
like Tulpa, I guess, if we're talking in a paranormal sense. He was created by the consciousness, like Slender Man, but all the videos of him are fake and just people like using After Effects to put in this walking siren man blaring his siren. And all the paranormal YouTubers were talking about it for like 3 months in
Oh,
like
wow.
2017. But we also did our own Siren Head episode. Jordan apologized for it. We were all like, this is the favor you asked for many years ago, Jordan.
Okay. Well, crap or not, I appreciate being able to cover all of these different subjects because somebody out there, really
Because
thinks
it
it's
became a
legitimate.
tulpa. So we were like, we'll allow this. It's
Mm-hmm.
in the tulpa area. We
Yeah.
talked about Slenderman. Slenderman's had some real consequences for society. Maybe Siren Head will too, and we're gonna talk about it.
Yeah. Well, fingers crossed. Let's hope not.
Let's hope
it
it's
doesn't go.
better. Yes.
All right. Next question. Tell me about a cryptid in your specific area.
Oh, a cryptid. We have Bigfoot, of course. We have summer sightings of him and winter sightings of him, which suggest he moves caves and whatever. There's a winter house and a summer house for him, or at least where he gets his food. We also have a mountain ghost called the Purple Bishop, which is not a dick joke. It is a real person. And they were, I think, and I tell a more frightening story of it, but it is a bishop to where they were obsessed with the amethyst of Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
So if you take amethyst from our mountains, he comes and kills you and leaves a purple robe.
Ooh, he's the guardian of it, huh?
A guardian of the Colorado amethyst. Plus, we have
Ooh.
Tommyknockers. Colorado has a very thick German heritage. So Tommyknockers came along with us. We got Tommyknockers in our minds.
Okay.
We got El Chupacabra sightings. We were the first. Linda Moulton Howe, you know her, of course.
Yes.
My girlfriend's mom worked with her for a number of years in the 70s before she was like paranormal TV producer. She was just Linda Howe, TV producer.
Oh, wow. Yeah, no, I remember listening to her back on like Coast to Coast interviews back in the day.
Yeah, my girlfriend's mom got to work with her at Channel 7 for many, many stories.
Wow.
Says she's one of the best producers she's ever worked with. And I went, that Molten Howe? All right.
Okay, well, good to know.
She didn't understand why me and Kylie, my girlfriend, were talking about her so much. And she was like, I don't understand it. Then we explained, and she's like, that's what she went into. Okay.
All right. One last question for you. This is an important one. You, Jordan, and Nate. Who's the best host? You can tell me, buddy. It's okay.
Jordan.
It's just between you and I. Oh.
Jordan can host a thing. We all were stand-up comedians, but Jordan's like a good orator.
All right. Well, I think y'all are fabulous. Where would you like my audience to find you, follow you?
Oh, werewolfradar.com. We have all of our episodes up there. We also have links to our YouTube to where you can see the video episodes that I get up sporadically when I have time and energy.
Okay.
We have our Twitch up there. We got everything you want. If you want a Werewolf Radar shirt, we have some very neat shirts. Werewolfradar.com has a link to our merch store.
Wonderful. And you said that's got all the links to your socials. Is that just where you want people to
No,
go
it's just Werewolf Radar. If you Twitter, search us there, Werewolf Radar. It's really the only social that we use.
Okay.
That and werewolfradar.com.
Okay, I will link it all below for everybody. And before we close it out, do you have any words of wisdom you want to leave with us?
Oh, I forgot all about this. Just be careful when the ghost punches you, which is something that does happen. Our buddy, Jordan, we have a mutual friend who was doing renovations in an attic and was punched by a ghost to the point he was knocked out.
What?
Yes, and then woke up hours later with a horrible pain in his chest. Turns out someone was shot with a shotgun in the chest many years ago, and he probably felt some residual energy of it. So just be careful. The ghost will punch you, I guess. Ghost punch. That's my word of advice. Ghost punch.
Very good life advice there. Thank you. Well, thank you so much, Roger. This has been a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you
We
so
need
much.
to have you back on our show. We'll work on times. We're all very busy and trying to be human too.
Oh, yeah, but yeah, with that anytime, you know it.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a great rest of your Sunday.
Thank you, Roger, for joining me on today's episode. I had a blast, man. Please take a look at all of their links I've added to the episode notes. Follow, subscribe to their show, rate, buy some merch. Werewolf Radar is sincerely a great addition to your regular listening schedule. I was a guest on the popular live stream and radio show Shifting the Paradigm, hosted by Christina Gomez. It airs on KUNX Talk Radio and the UNX Network. Past guests include Brandon Fugel, Scott Wolter, Luis Elizondo, and Jim Harold. So it was an incredible honor to be added to that lineup. It's been over a week now, and I am still receiving messages from listeners of that broadcast, mostly about the orbs that fly around me whenever I'm recording, apparently. As soon as I can post video up on the Patreon, y'all will see what I'm talking about. First, welcome to the new listeners who have made the journey over to my little old program. Glad to have ya. And for anyone who missed that airing, you can still catch it on Shifting the Paradigm's YouTube channel. Do catch it. Halloween is almost upon us, folks, which means our October celebration here is almost at an end. I know, I don't want to think about it either. But never fear, we will not go out with a whisper, but a bang. I have a listener favorite joining me for my final conversation episode this month, and a special guest joining him. Archbishop and exorcist Plato Angelakis returns once more, and alongside him, Sister Kia Lynn Francis, who has some really incredible stories to share of the haunted, the dark, and the downright demonic. Catch part 1 of our discussion right here this Friday. Until then, stay safe, keep the nightlight on, and sleep with one eye open.